Even people who've never opened the Bible think they know this one. The Old Testament God is angry and strict. The New Testament God is loving and forgiving. Jesus came to free us from all those harsh Jewish laws. That's the story. But it's wrong. One of the four gospel writers, Matthew, presents the exact opposite. His Jesus makes the law harder to follow, not easier. His Jesus expects followers to remain fully Torah observant. The common assumption creates a false dichotomy. Old Testament equals harsh rules, New Testament equals gracious freedom. Matthew demolishes this framework. His gospel shows Jesus intensifying every demand, raising every standard, making the ethical bar almost impossibly high. Let's look at what Matthew actually says and watch this cultural myth collapse under the weight of the text itself. Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 through 20. This is Jesus' programmatic statement about the law, his thesis statement before the Sermon on the Mount. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. That word fulfill, in Greek plerotcho, it doesn't mean complete and set aside. It means bring to full expression. Jesus fills the law with deeper meaning. He doesn't empty it of relevance. Then comes the shocking specificity. Until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law. Not one letter, the law remains binding. Jesus adds an ethical warning. Whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. And this isn't Jesus relaxing standards. This is Jesus raising the stakes. Even the smallest commandment matters. Teaching others to ignore it brings consequences. Matthew's Jesus sounds nothing like the grace replaces law narrative. He sounds like someone who takes Torah more seriously than anyone and expects his followers to do the same. Now comes the test case. Scholars call them the Messian antitheses, 6 statements where Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, but I say to you." The common reading, Jesus replaces harsh Jewish teaching with gracious Christian teaching. Old way out, new way in. The correct reading, Jesus intensifies every single demand. The new standard is always harder than the old one, always. This pattern holds across all 6 antitheses. Torah sets a standard. Jesus raises it. The ethical demand increases, never decreases. Let's walk through 3 examples and watch the pattern emerge with unmistakable clarity. First example, murder and anger. Matthew 5, verses 21-22. Torah says, do not murder, clear prohibition, don't kill people. Jesus says, do not even be angry with a brother or sister. Whoever says, you fool, is liable to the hell of fire. The standard got stricter. Torah prohibited the act. Jesus prohibits the emotion that leads to the act. You can't even be angry. Second example, adultery and lust. Matthew 5, verses 27-28. Torah says, do not commit adultery. Don't sleep with someone else's spouse. Jesus says everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. The act becomes the thought. Intensification again. It is a third example, the most misunderstood. Eye for an eye. Matthew 5, verses 38-42. Eye for an eye sounds harsh to modern ears. But in its original context, it was a limitation on vengeance, proportional justice. You can't kill someone's whole family because they injured you. The punishment must fit the crime. Jesus' teaching, don't retaliate at all. Turn the other cheek. Give your cloak too. Go the second mile. This isn't Jesus softening a harsh law. This is Jesus replacing proportional justice with non-resistance, and the hardest standard of all, infinitely harder than eye for an eye. The pattern holds without exception. Every antithesis moves in the same direction. Torah sets a standard. Jesus raises it. Murder becomes anger. Adultery becomes lust. Proportional justice becomes non-retaliation. Divorce becomes almost impossible. Oaths become unnecessary because your word should be enough. Loving neighbors becomes loving enemies. 646. The ethical bar goes up every single time. This isn't Old Testament harsh, New Testament gracious. This is Old Testament demanding, New Testament impossible. Matthew's Jesus doesn't free people from the law. He makes the law penetrate deeper into thoughts, emotions, intentions. The external command becomes an internal transformation, and the standard becomes almost unreachable. If you're still not convinced, here's the smoking gun, a place where we can catch Matthew editing his source material. Matthew knew Mark's gospel. He used it as a source. Scholars can compare the two texts side by side. In Mark chapter 7, Jesus debates with Pharisees about hand washing and food purity. Mark includes this editorial comment, thus he declared all foods clean. That's Mark's interpretation. Jesus abolished kosher laws. Matthew tells the same story in chapter 15. He copies much of Mark's language, but he deliberately omits that sentence. Thus he declared all foods clean, disappears. Matthew removed it on purpose. His Jesus does not abolish kosher laws. This omission reveals Matthew's theological commitment. He's not accidentally leaving out a sentence. He's deliberately shaping his portrait of Jesus. Mark's Jesus declares foods clean, abolishing part of Torah. Matthew's Jesus does no such thing. Matthew's Jesus spiritualizes and prioritizes Torah commands while maintaining their validity. The two gospel writers disagree. They present different theological perspectives on Jesus and the law. This matters because it proves the gospels aren't identical. Different authors made different editorial choices based on different community needs. Reading carefully means noticing what's not there as much as what is. The Old Testament harsh, New Testament gracious dichotomy is a cultural myth, not a textual reality. Matthew's gospel provides the counterexample. His Jesus doesn't abolish the law, he intensifies it. He makes it penetrate deeper into human motivation and desire. He raises the ethical bar while still expecting disciples to clear it. Next time someone contrasts Old Testament law with New Testament grace, you have a specific response. Point them to the Sermon on the Mount, show them the antitheses, watch the myth dissolve. Matthew's Jesus makes the law almost impossible to keep while still expecting disciples to keep it. No anger, no lust, no retaliation, love your enemies. This changes how we read the Sermon on the Mount, not as gentle teaching replacing harsh rules, but as radical demand exceeding anything Torah required. The standard didn't drop, it soared.